You gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you've gotta do. Oh Lord, you gotta do when the Spirit says do. 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 You've gotta care when the Spirit says care. You've gotta care when the Spirit says care. When the Spirit says care, you've gotta care. Oh Lord, you've gotta care when the Spirit says care. 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 You've gotta stay when the Spirit says stay. You've gotta stay when the Spirit says stay. When the Spirit says stay, you've gotta stay. Oh Lord, you've gotta stay when the Spirit says stay. 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 You've gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You've gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you've gotta sing. Oh Lord, you've gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 Spirit says do.
There was a devout young Christian man who wanted to join the monastery. And as he did, being the newest member, he was assigned the menial task of copying the church bylaws. But he realized that he was making copies of copies. So he approached the head abbot. He said, "Dear sir, we're copying copies. And if just one word was copied wrong from the original, we could be sending the wrong message all these years." He said, "My dear boy, I can assure you these are the words of God. But just to ease your mind, I'll go downstairs into the vault and retrieve the original. I'll be right back." Well, 10, 15, 20 minutes went by and he didn't come back. So the young monk got concerned he might have got hurt going down the steps. As he went downstairs to look for him, he saw him banging his head against the wall, crying uncontrollably. He said, "Dear sir, what is the matter?" He said the word was celebrate. Hello and welcome to this virtual service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Waynesboro. My name is Pat Peason, and my wife Sue and I have been members for about 17 years. And our favorite thing about this community is that there is no dogma. We're not told what to believe or how to think. In fact, the goal is that we evolve together, and all ideas, beliefs, and opinions are welcomed and listened to equally. And we do our best to come from a foundation of unity, compassion, and wisdom for all beings. This congregation aims to grow its welcome. Like acts of progress and justice, we are not today where we hope and promise ourselves to be in the future. In 2004, we voted to become a welcoming congregation for lesbians, gay men, bisexuals, transgender persons, and persons who find the leanings of liberation in the word queer. We didn't know then what we all know now, so at each step we commit to do the best we can with what we know then, and as we know more, we commit to doing better. That's part of the evolution I speak of. So we're currently in a learning phase, preparing to vote in June to accept, at the congregational level, the proposed eighth principle of our association. This principle is a commitment to accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. It calls on us to do more than learn and feel and believe the right thing. It is about doing what is needed to grow justice in our world. And alongside the fellowship's long-standing commitment to the community service activities that help our neighbors, friends, family, and sometimes ourselves when we encounter hard times and difficulty getting by, we now have a social justice team. And that is building ways to lead the congregation in activities that aim to increase the justice in the world by changing systems of oppression and inequity. So if you're a visitor today and would like to learn more about our fellowship, or if you're an attendee who is considering joining, please watch for the slide near the end of the service that provides contact information for the minister and the membership team. They and we look forward to hearing from you. So let us now kindle the chalice of our hearts with these words by Deanna Vandiver. We light this chalice, a symbol of our faith alive in this world, naming our vision of collective liberation and daring to remember each other into beloved community.
Our words of prayer today are written by Ma Teresa Agustillo Gallardo, known more familiarly as Tet. Ultimate grace, the heart of every matter, in every perfection and imperfection, all senses and tenses, in moments of every right and wrong, presenting choices to inquiring hearts. You are in the purpose and the journey of mishaps. You are in moments of understanding and misunderstanding. We have but to seek and invoke and enable the work of Spirit. As prayer is but an articulated common dream, we invoke our ultimate concern for the work of faith. We long to be hand in hand, creating a world where everyone belongs. Free us from hindrances. Make invisible things visible and the voiceless heard. Lay what is hidden before us. Make the chained unbound. The doubting believe. What is confusing, let clarify. As hardened hearts grow soft to the touch. May we come in fullness with gratefulness in faithfulness to one another. May we speak in kind conversing, disclosing our truths with care, expressing our practical wisdom to learn of its practical limits. For the world was not meant to be possessed by a singular truth, but to be built together upon multiple revelations. O universe, with stars in your hair, you have shown that great things emerge from humble beginnings, no matter how flawed and lacking. That one story in a stable, in a prison, in a cave, in destitution, in abject poverty, if lived in all sincerity, can liberate from darkness the many. May our eyes seek to appreciate, our breaths to dedicate power, our hands to warm each other. When loving fearlessly, we are invincible. When free will is deliberate, we are pivotal. When dreaming together, we are infinite. Remind us of the very questions that we have turned away from, that we thought could not be answered or are impossible to realize. Dear universal intelligence, your embrace contains everything, but confines nothing. In the ever insistence of existence, may this one moment count. Let us join our hearts together, holding the multiple joys and sorrows of this gathered congregation in our hearts together quietly.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is
Our first reading today is by Teresa I. Soto. To the people who have mistaken freedom for liberation. To be free, you must embrace the breadth of your own existence without apology, even if they try to take it from you. You must know, not that you can do whatever you want. You are not a kudzu vine eating entire hillsides for the purpose of feeding your own lush life. You must know instead that you are entire universes, milky blue, magenta, and gold, expanding. But to actually be free, you must know and you must fight for the entire universes inside of everyone else. Being free is not a license, but a promise. Our second reading is The Long Road to Freedom by Nelson Mandela. I have walked that long road to freedom. I have tried not to falter. I have made missteps along the way, but I have discovered the secret that after climbing a great hill, one only finds that there are many more hills to climb. I have taken a moment here to rest, to steal a view of the glorious vista that surrounds me, to look back on the distance that I have come. But I can only rest for a moment, for with freedom come responsibilities, and I dare not linger, for my long walk is not ended.
Was grace and mercy brought me through. I'm living this moment wrapped in love's truth. Hallelujah, my praise is due. 'Twas grace and mercy brought me through. 'Twas grace and mercy brought me through. I'm living this moment wrapped in love's truth. Hallelujah.
This past Tuesday, I got in the car to head to CVS to pick up routine meds and to get the second jab of the shingles vaccine. I'd gotten the first back in January, and I had not yet waited the full time that I needed to before getting the second when I was able to get the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine. And then I had to wait a month after the second one of those to return to the shingles sequence. So my mind was full of routine health stuff when I got into the car. But no sooner was the engine running than I heard the radio announcer saying that the jurors had filed back into the courtroom with a verdict. Suddenly, the trip to the CVS was only at the edge of my mind. I listened to the court process of reading the verdict, the judge polling each juror to verify the verdict, and a few brief instructions from the judge to the jurors as they prepared to return to their deliberations room to receive more instructions from him. I pulled into a parking space at CVS and wept. Derek Chauvin was found guilty on all 3 counts. Second-degree murder, that is, causing the death of a human being without intent to cause death while committing or attempting to commit another felony. In this case, the felony was third-degree assault. Third-degree murder, unintentionally causing someone's death by committing an act that is imminently dangerous to other persons while exhibiting a depraved mind with reckless disregard for human life. And second-degree manslaughter, culpable negligence, where a person creates an unreasonable risk and consciously takes the chance of causing death or great bodily harm to someone. I sat in my car and wept. They were tears of relief, but not joy. There was nothing to celebrate. George Floyd was still dead. But relief that such a rare verdict had been reached by this jury. The murder conviction of a police officer is a very rare event. There have been only 7 murder convictions of officers for fatal police shootings since 2005, according to Philip Stinson of Bowling Green State University. That suggests that the chances of a killing by the police leading to a murder conviction are about 1 in 2,000. Now, this is not to suggest that I know what percentage of those 2,000 were, in fact, murders or manslaughters, but it is no secret that police, for any number of pragmatic to ideological reasons, only rarely will testify against another officer. And courts, judges, and juries from the local circuit all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court are all inclined to give police a huge benefit of the doubt. I sat there before going into CVS and pondered whether this might be a pivot point, a watershed moment when police actually start being held truly accountable for their actions that harm civilians. I hope, I pray it is such a moment, but I dare not hope too large yet. My extended family, probably like yours, includes people with varied experiences of the law. My family includes lawyers, One of them was a prosecutor, a police officer, and a great uncle and cousin who were each convicted and sent to prison on very serious felony charges. My experience of my police officer cousin was that he often bragged of violating people's rights in the execution of his duties. How much was bravado to satisfy his macho self-image? Who can say? That may have been part of it, but at least partly he was showing how unimportant he believed the rights of a suspect were. He was a pleasant person, a friendly man, and much loved by everyone in the family, and he saw no problem with violating the rights of someone he had targeted for arrest. In the very white community where he lived and served, this had very little likelihood of playing out in racialized ways, but it definitely resulted in different treatment under the law for rich people and poor people. He said as much without even trying to hide it. The son of a close friend of mine grew up with my daughters, and he served 3 tours in Afghanistan, and when he came home, he became a cop. He has 5 kids and a lovely wife. He's a great provider who loves his children and his mother. He's pleasant to be around, but that's most of the time. In conversation, sometimes he says things like he loved serving in Afghanistan, but one of the best things about it was that he could shoot people. Now, that too could have been more gallows humor than description of his actual attitudes toward the unavoidable killing that is part of action in battle. But other things he expresses in more direct conversation show that he considers undocumented migrants, the poor, especially inner city people of color, less valuable and less worthy of protection than those with power and wealth. So when I ask myself whether the Derek Chauvin verdict would be a turning point, it was very much an open question. My own family and friends' circle showed me caustic attitudes of otherwise apparently good guys wearing badges. Tucker Carlson and other right-wing TV and talk radio hosts have made outlandish claims that the jury in the Chauvin case had been intimidated into their guilty verdict by the news media and a politically correct left-wing movement. If anything, it may be that this verdict is an opening for taking small steps toward justice. I cannot hope that this means things have now changed any more than President Obama's election in 2008 meant that we were living in a post-racist world. If anything, the events that followed showed just how far we are from being such a post-racist society. 19th century Unitarian minister Theodore Parker wrote, "I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one. My eye reaches but little ways. I cannot calculate the curve and complete the figure by the experience of sight. I can divine it by conscience, and from what I see, I am sure it bends toward justice. I do not pretend to understand. I cannot calculate the curve, The arc is long. We may think something looks certain, but the self-evidently moral high ground of such things as the Equal Rights Amendment has not yet become the law of the land, even though there has been some mitigation in that regard. All the civil rights legislation and regulation of the 1950s and 60s have not yet changed society sufficiently to suggest that these laws are any less needed now than then. We don't live in a post-racist, post-sexist, post-homophobic, post-transphobic, post-classist, post-ableist society. Yes, legislation and regulation have brought us to better places than where we were, but everything is still very much at risk. Does the arc of the moral universe bend toward justice? It can, but only if we keep bending it. And as just one modest part of this process of bending the arc, the move we are making here in this fellowship toward adopting the proposed eighth principle of the Unitarian Universalist Association locally and well in advance of any vote by our delegates, it is an important move. It does not change realities on the ground that need change, but it states our commitment, our clear intention of staying on task and acting for justice with the goal of eventually overcoming racism and other oppressions in ourselves and in our institutions. We admit that this has not yet been achieved, but claim it as a commitment, as a goal, no matter how long it takes, no matter whether we live to see completion. The arc is long. Derek Chauvin's conviction does not change the world, but it challenges us to see that movement in the direction of greater justice is possible. First and second century Rabbi Tarfon said, "The day is short and the labor plenty, but the laborers are slothful, while the potential reward is great." And you are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to desist from it. We will not correct every wrong through bending the arc toward justice. We won't live long enough to correct every wrong, but the potential reward is beyond imagining. A world that cares first for everyone who has been harmed in a way, leading toward a bigger we. None of us will live to see every wrong righted, but our eventual progress and the growth of justice depends on our commitment and our action now. Go in peace. Amen, and blessed be.
Please join me in hymn number 1017, Building a New Way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free, free from hate and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the seed. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, our world will die. Peace and freedom is our